Welcome back to our channel, where we dive into facts and stories from around the globe every week. Today, we'll delve into the life of a man whose name is synonymous with infamy, Pablo Escobar. This Colombian drug lord, known as the King of Cocaine, was a figure of terror and intrigue during the late 20th century. His life story is a grim testament to the dark side of ambition and power. Join us as we unravel the life of Pablo Escobar, the King of Cocaine. Born on December 1st, 1949 in Rio Negro, Colombia, Pablo Emilio Escobar Gaviria was the third of 7 children. His parents, Abel de Jesus Dari Escobar, a farmer, and Hermilda Gaviria, a school teacher, struggled to provide for their large family. However, young Pablo was not content with such a humble existence. From an early age, he was drawn to the allure of the criminal underworld, involving himself in petty crimes and small-time hustles. Escobar's ambition was always more than just personal wealth. He dreamt of becoming the Robin Hood of his community, using his ill-gotten gains to help the poor and underserved. This aspiration was deeply rooted in his upbringing, witnessing the struggles of his family and his community. Yet the path he chose to achieve this dream was fraught with violence and lawlessness. In the early 1970s, Escobar's ambitions would lead him to create one of the most notorious criminal enterprises in history. Escobar's rise to power was swift and ruthless. In the cocaine-laden era of the 1970s, a figure emerged from the city of Medellin, Colombia, who would soon dominate the global drug trade. This man was Pablo Escobar. In his early days, Escobar was a small-time smuggler, dealing in contraband cigarettes and fake lottery tickets. However, his ambitions were far grander. He saw an opportunity in the burgeoning cocaine trade and seized it with both hands. In the late 70s, Escobar formed the Medellin Cartel, a consortium of drug traffickers that would become synonymous with his name. The Medellin Cartel didn't just deal in cocaine, it practically owned the market. At its peak, the cartel supplied an estimated 80% of the cocaine smuggled into the United States. This was a multi-billion-dollar operation, with Escobar himself earning an estimated $420 million a week. But how did Escobar and the Medellin cartel maintain such a stranglehold on the cocaine trade? The answer lies in a phrase that became Escobar's infamous motto, plata o plomo, silver or lead. This was a simple, brutal choice offered to government officials and law enforcement. Accept a bribe or face the barrel of a gun. Many chose the silver. Those who didn't often met with the lead. Escobar wasn't just ruthless, he was cunning and charismatic. He cultivated a Robin Hood image, building houses and soccer fields for the poor. This won him a degree of public admiration and provided a shield of protection from those he helped. Yet beneath this veneer of generosity, Escobar was a man to be feared. His cartel was responsible for countless acts of violence, including assassinations, bombings, and kidnappings. He had an iron grip on Colombia, and his influence reached far beyond its borders. By the mid-1980s, Pablo Escobar was one of the world's richest men, and his empire seemed untouchable. His wealth was staggering, his power unassailable. But even the mightiest empires can fall, and the story of Escobar's downfall is as dramatic as his rise. But that, dear listeners, is a tale for another time. However, the same ruthlessness that propelled Escobar to the top would ultimately lead to his downfall. The story of Pablo Escobar, the notorious Colombian drug lord, is a tale of a meteoric rise to power and a swift descent into infamy. As the leader of the Medellin cartel, Escobar's criminal empire was built on a foundation of fear, violence, and corruption. Yet, the very tactics that had once made him untouchable would soon bring about his downfall. The Colombian and US authorities, aware of the havoc being wreaked by Escobar, had been working tirelessly to bring him to justice. Their efforts, however, were met with fierce resistance from Escobar and his loyal followers. The infamous drug lord had an uncanny ability to elude capture, often resorting to brutal violence to fend off his pursuers. In a surprising turn of events, Escobar surrendered to the authorities in the early 90s, agreeing to serve a prison sentence in a custom-built facility known as La Catedral. But this was no ordinary prison. La Catedral was more akin to a luxury resort than a detention center, complete with a soccer field, bar, and jacuzzi. It was a clear testament to the extent of Escobar's power and influence. However, his time in this gilded cage was short-lived. When the authorities attempted to move him to a regular prison, Escobar made a daring escape, triggering one of the largest manhunts in history. For more than a year, Escobar managed to evade capture, living on the run while still maintaining control over his vast criminal empire. But Escobar's luck eventually ran out. On a cold December day in 1993, he was cornered by Colombian police in a middle-class neighborhood in Medellin. In the ensuing shootout, Pablo Escobar, once the most feared man in Colombia, was killed. Pablo Escobar's reign had come to a violent end, but his legacy would continue to influence Colombia and the world. Even in death, the shadow of Pablo Escobar looms large. His life, marked by ambition, violence, and power, left an indelible imprint on Colombia and indeed the world. And it is this legacy that we turn our attention to now. Escobar's actions have had long-lasting repercussions for Colombia. His reign of terror not only claimed countless lives, but also fostered a culture of drug trafficking that the country continues to grapple with. The illicit drug trade, once controlled by Escobar, is now an ongoing struggle for authorities, a grim reminder of his infamous legacy. However, his impact extends beyond the dark world of narcotics. Escobar's life, ripe with drama and intrigue, has found its way into popular culture. His story, told and retold, has been dramatized in films, television series, and books. His portrayal varies from the ruthless kingpin to the Robin Hood-esque figure, reflecting the complexity of his character and the divergent views held about him. Yet it is critical to remember that while Escobar may have been a compelling character, his actions caused immense suffering. His rise to power was built on a foundation of fear, violence, and corruption, casting a long, ominous shadow over his legacy. Pablo Escobar, a man who rose from poverty to power, remains a controversial figure, a symbol of both the allure and the danger of absolute power.